And a good Tuesday evening, everybody. Chris McDonald with you. We have not had you by ourselves in a long time, but I've got you by myself tonight. Now, I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know if that's good or bad for you, but it's going to be a fun Tuesday night. And I've got my USA hoodie on. That means we're talking about the country tonight. Oh, what a circus that we've got going on in this country. Good Lord have mercy tonight. We're going to look at a lot of video. John asked me last night. We were up late, and John Mertz was saying, well, it's only 12 o'clock at night. Go ahead and show the videos. And I said, John's a little late, but we'll do it tonight. So tonight, we're going to do the videos for you. Some of them that will make you mad, glad, sad, and probably a combination of both. No spitting at the camera. No throwing things. No throwing things at the camera. I'm just a messenger. And but we're grateful to see you on this Tuesday night, and we're going to get right to it here. Big story tonight that is sort of out there, a couple of big ones, but the main one is that there is a possibility that we could be seeing a peace plan on the table with the Iranians, and I've got my thoughts on that. I'll get your thoughts on that at the end of the show tonight. We'll take questions from you. This is a this and that show tonight, and we're going to get your input and read your comments. And if you got a question, something about the country you want to ask, I may not be able to answer it. I'll sure give it the Boy Scout try. And I don't know if Jenny Castellanova's out there. I hadn't been able to play this in so long. I lost this meme, but I found it. But you know, this is our favorite saying around here, that it is
elementary, my dear Watson.
Elementary, my dear Watson. And let me play that again. I just like that.
Elementary, my dear Watson.
Elementary, my dear Watson. The Dems are crazy. Well, it didn't play. Let's go figure. Go figure.
Elementary, my dear Watson.
There we go. Technology is wonderful until it don't work. But anyway, I've got a lot of other statements I could play that is elementary, my dear Watson. But anyway, we're going to talk about these tonight, and we hope that you will enjoy the show. I'm sure you will, but we will take your questions at the end. But the situation with Iran is a very intriguing one tonight, and I want to just share a few thoughts about it. I know that most of us are wanting to see this conflict come to an end. I am certainly one of those tonight. Israel has taken a brunt. They got hit with a massive barrage of missiles today. One hit northern Tel Aviv, went right into an apartment complex. More death was laid upon the Jewish state this morning. And America has, we've paid a price. We've had 13 young men die. 6 of those was really not combat related. It was a chopper that crashed, two military aircraft that crashed into each other over Iraq. And roughly 6 of our servicemen have died in combat-related events because of missiles that struck bases. And I think we all are a little nervous. Look, I'm nervous that this conflict is going to basically spill over into a ground campaign. And there's not rumors tonight, there are reports tonight that we are sending paratroopers over there. We're not exactly sure what their goal is going to be. The Karg Island situation that the Americans took over here, there is some evidence that they're going to put these paratroopers and these military people on the ground there to protect that island. I've always said this from the start of this. I support President Trump, what he's doing. I understand why he's doing it. I do. Iran has been the fomenter of terror for nearly 50 years. It's not just been the terrorist attacks themselves, but they have financed terrorist groups. They have financed their surrogates. You know, if you go back to the Iraqi war, nearly 700 of our U.S. soldiers that were killed in that war back in 2003 and 4 under Bush Jr. actually took place. The majority of those took place when we did the surge, and right before the surge. And Iran was basically sending their proxies into Iraq to fight alongside the Iraqis against the Americans, and that's a conundrum with the Middle East. The friend of my enemy, or the enemy of my enemy, is my friend. And Iran and Iraq had just basically come out of a bloody conflict. Me and Leslie talked about that last night. And of course, Ronald Reagan backed the Iraqis, and it basically led to the dawn of Saddam Hussein ultimately. And of course, we went in there in 2003 to remove him. And but Iran has been a thorn in the side of the Middle East going back really to 1979 when the Ayatollah Khomeini took over. I'm going to make this brief because I want to get to our videos tonight and show you some things and talk about them with you. I do not trust the Iranians past this screen, and my screen is not even 2 feet in front of me. I've got a sense that they're playing America for what we want to hear to stop us from bombing them. It's been their playbook forever. Um, I heard Laura Ingraham tonight talking about trust and verify, and that was the Reagan doctrine of the 1980s with the Soviets. And it worked to some degree it didn't. I believe this regime is committed to getting a nuclear bomb. And regardless of what we try to do to stop them from doing that, the reality of it is that we cannot be 100% sure that anything America does can stop that. And then you open another can of worms if you start nation building like we tried to do in Iraq, which ended in failure. Then you open the possibility up of another terrorist organization. What happened with ISIS is ISIS developed in that vacuum. When the American government tried to do that in Iraq, it failed. Obama pulled us out quickly in 08, 09. And then you had the rise of this military group, ISIS, that was so brutally ruled the Middle East. And you talking about Sharia law, and you talking about the brutality of Islam. Multiple thousands of Christians were slaughtered, and non-Muslims and people that did not submit to them. And it was the most horrific thing. It really happened in northwest Iraq, all of Syria, mainly northeast Syria, southern Lebanon, southwest Turkey was really the region of the world they carved out that they ruled. And if you were under that domain, it was a nightmare until President Trump took office, and he obliterated ISIS within the first few months of his presidency. And he didn't look at them as the junior varsity team as Mr. Obama did, which, of course, Obama wasn't going to kill them because you don't kill relatives. He wasn't going to kill his relatives. But we don't face any easy choices in this situation. Do I agree what President Trump did? Yes, I do. Do I support ground troops? No, I don't. Do I think we may ultimately need ground troops to enforce the peace, to enforce what we want Iran to do? That's a question that I have to say yes, I do. And that puts us in a bad place. It just puts us in a bad place. And I'm not an expert on the Middle East. We tried to get Rob Manis on tonight, and he couldn't come. We're going to try to get him on Thursday night. Our dear buddy we met here a few weeks ago for the first time. And I'm hoping and praying he can come on the show Thursday night, but definitely week after Easter. Next week is Faith Week, and we won't have any shows like this next week. We're in revival starting Monday night, the 30th, and it's all going to be faith leading up to Easter weekend. And we hope that you will join us. We really do. It's going to be a powerful time, and we hope that you can join us and be with us. But I want to just say tonight that we're in a no-win. I know President Trump wants to draw a peace deal up, and I heard something, it caught my ear tonight, and Sean Hannity said it, and I like Sean. I'm not a huge fan, but I like him, and I wish him and Ansley the best. I know they're getting married this summer. I understand Ansley Earhart of Fox. And but one thing he said caught my attention, and this is the deception of Middle East peace agreements. He made the statement tonight. He said, well, if we sign this peace deal with Iran, if we get Iran to negotiate and we get them to agree to a peace deal, it will mean the end of the threat to our grandchildren and our children of Iran being run by evil mullahs, and that is not so. I disagree. There is no guarantee that the Iranian people are going to choose a government, and when the ashes clear and the smoke clears, that the government that arises from this is going to be any less jihadist than the one they got there now. We can't promise that. And I think that that is one of the conundrums President Trump's in, and I think that he gets himself in trouble making the American people, try to make the American people believe that he can deliver that. Maybe he can, maybe he can't. I'm pulling for him that he can. It's not that I don't want that. I think we all want that. I don't want my grandchildren, if the Lord tarries any length of time and I'm taken off this earth and they have to face a world with this jihadist threat, and I'm afraid that they're going to face it more than we care to admit, folks. It's happening in our own nation. We're going to play videos tonight. It is scary stuff what is going on in our cities. It's scary stuff what's going on with the mosque. It's scary what's going on with our leaders. You got the mayor of New York basically telling New Yorkers to look to Islam and look to Muhammad because it was the Muslims that basically had the best role model for immigration. And I mean, he's literally telling his people to look to Islam for their faith. And it's not happening in Timbuktu. That's happening in the Big Apple. In the Big Apple. And it's like I told Leslie last night. I'm just, all these people that are having buyer's remorse, we could have saved you the buyer's remorse if you'd have listened to us back in November, but most didn't. Most mocked us, what we said. Most mocked conservatives when we told you this kid is dangerous as can be. And most people were like, "Oh no, 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 no! We can't vote for Cuomo. We can't vote for Silwa. We can't vote for Eric Adams because they're just so bad. And we need a change. We need a breath of fresh air." Well, you got your breath of fresh air, and I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you're enjoying it. Cuomo wasn't perfect. Eric Adams wasn't perfect. Silwa wasn't perfect. But I'll tell you what, they wasn't jihadists. They wasn't jihadists. And perhaps, it may not have been any better, but I think it would have been better in that regard. But we've got a situation, folks, that our country is in a dangerous place tonight. And it's dangerous for so many reasons, but I think it's more dangerous in the fact that the solution that we're looking for and the quick fix that we want to fix the Middle East. I've never seen this country in all the times, and I've studied this through the years. I've watched the governments come and go. I watched Clinton try to do it. He failed. I watched Bush Sr. try to do it. He failed. I watched Bush Jr. try to do it. He failed. Obama didn't try to do anything. He was all about the Middle East going up in smoke. Trump tried, and Trump has probably been the most successful in bringing the Arabs to the table than any president. But again, you're not dealing with straight players. You're not dealing with honest brokers. And, Biden didn't even know where the Middle East was on a map, so I don't want to get into Biden. But you've got a dangerous situation, and sometimes and it's not I guess you could say it's not a flaw in President Trump. It's just his character. It's just Trump is a businessman. He's a negotiator. And he's all about quick solutions, and he's all about wanting to fix something. There's nothing wrong with that. That's why we elected him. He's trying to fix his economy. He's trying to fix the country. He's trying to fix the lawless situation. He's trying to fix things that need to be fixed. And I'm proud of him for that. And this is not a Trump bash, but I'm concerned that this situation in the Middle East is unlike the TSA and the airport lines. The airport line situation can be fixed easy. He fixed it this week. Sent the TSA agents in there, the Border Patrol, ICE, and they're helping ease the burden of the Department of Homeland Security lack that's going on because of the gutless Dems. But this Middle East situation is different because it is biblical. It is prophetic. And whether President Trump understands the depth of that, I don't know. I would tend to believe that he's got somewhat of an understanding of it, but there's a part of me that believes he don't. And that's why we as Christians need to be praying fervently that God gives him the wisdom on how to handle the situation with Iran. Because there are no easy outs. And when you start hearing all this optimism and you start hearing all of these things, well, we're going to have peace, 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 peace. We've talked about this numerous times in our faith shows, especially on Wednesday night. When they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction is going to come upon them as travail upon a woman. And that is speaking in fulfillment, in totality, and context of the great coming tribulation period. It really speaks of the Antichrist breaking his treaty with Israel. And but I hear these echoes. I hear this being echoed again tonight, that if we solve this situation with Iran, then the Middle East can have peace. I heard one of the generals say that tonight. And I can tell you this now, folks. Please take this. And again, you don't have to believe this. Take it from somebody that we're studying prophecy. We've been studying prophecy for 40 years. I've been studying this stuff since I've been a child. And I can tell you without blinking tonight, there's no peace coming to the Middle East. There's no peace coming to that region except a false peace. And there may be little segments, there may be seasons where things are not as violent as they normally are. There may be seasons where we think we've got peace. But the grand peace plan that's coming is coming through the Antichrist, and that peace is a false peace, and that peace will be broken, and that man, one man, is going to unleash unspeakable evil upon this earth and upon Israel and upon the Middle East, unlike this world has ever seen in the past, in the present, nor in the future. There will never be a time like it ever again, what is coming on this planet. The only peace that will ever take place that will be permanent is going to be that when the Lord Jesus Christ comes back to this earth. Man cannot do that. So I'm just saying this to you all tonight to put all this in perspective. When you hear these things and you hear the promises of peace being made, that this is what is about to happen. And you need to be fully aware of that. And I just lost my channel there. I'm sorry. Let me get it back up there. We are just love these computers. But I want to say that again tonight, and then we're going to get into these videos. There's no peace coming to the Middle East. There's no peace coming to the Middle East. America's slap dab in the middle of this right now. And being in the middle of it is not a good place, because as I said, our options of what we have to do and what we need to do and what we probably are going to have to do to enforce the peace are not good options, because it involves your sons and daughters and your grandchildren and those in the military tonight, including my son that's getting ready to head off to Air Force camp here in April. And I told him the other day, it was on his birthday, and I was sort of joking around with him a little bit, but there was a part of me that was feeling this seriousness, feeling the weight of this. I told him, I said, your timing sucks. I said, your timing to go into the Air Force is not the best, kid. I said, you realize we got a war going on over there? And he said, Dad, I know. He said, I know. And I told him, I said, well, you know, I'm praying for your safety. And I said, I believe God's going to protect you and God's going to be with you. And I do. But it still puts our kids in harm's way. Every single member of our armed forces are at threat tonight. We're at threat tonight. And I just, again, I want to temper this optimism that even if this peace plan is on the table with Iran, you're not dealing with an honest broker. You're not dealing with somebody. And by the way, I don't know if some of you, maybe many of you know this, maybe you don't. When you read the history of Islam and you read the history of Muhammad and how he took over the Middle East in 622 AD, one of the earmarks of Islam is that you make a false peace treaty with your enemy. If your enemy is stronger than you, which America is, Israel is. Iran's scared of Israel. They may have a lot of bluster. They may threaten Israel. They may say what they want to say. But Iran knows they do not want to mess with the Jewish state. They just don't. So they know they're stronger. Islam's tenets, one of the tenets of Islam is that you make a deal with your enemy. And you cause your enemy to believe that if you both disarm, like if you both lay down your arms, then we can have peace together, even though Muhammad knew that those that he made those deals with were much stronger than him, so he couldn't defeat them militarily, so he deceived them into believing that if they would put down their arms and stop attacking him, that he would have peace with them. And then what would happen over time, and Islam would wait. Folks, the Muslim world, if you think about it, they don't have a calendar like we do. They don't rush into things. They plan things for months, years, decades sometimes. And who God knows what they're planning right now for later. But one of the things that Muhammad would do, he would wait till his enemy would get passive and get lethargic and get complacent and start laying their arms down and getting less and less diligent, less and less vigilant of the enemy, while he himself was secretly building up his arms. And I know President Trump is optimistic that we have taken out Iran's arms, but I'm going to tell you, folks, when we told you last night, the story we told you last night should be troubling. That, look, 72, almost 3 days ago, 4 days ago, nobody believed that Iran had a missile that could even go over 100 kilometers. We're finding out, or 200, 300 kilometers, however far it is from there to Israel. It definitely could go to Israel. I'll just be conservative, 500 kilometers, 500 miles, 400 miles, whatever. We know they could reach Israel, but this is the thing. We didn't realize that they had missiles that could reach 2,000 kilometers. And when Diego Garcia, and they hit that point in the Indian Ocean, the world woke up and shook up, and everybody was like, well, holy cow, we were told they couldn't do that. And I just wonder tonight what's out there that we don't know they've got. And again, to enforce this kind of peace, you're going to have an American presence there. You just are. And because you can't trust the UN, you can't trust the Office of Uranium Enrichment, or whatever it is the UN agency is that enforces this and basically inspects these. They're not going to do the job. It's going to have to be America. And let me remind you too again tonight, and we'll get to the videos. President Trump's not going to be president forever. We pray and hope we get a Republican. We pray and hope we get somebody like Marco Rubio, somebody maybe like Ron DeSantis. Not a big fan of J.D. Vance right now, but I'll just say that even if it's J.D., you just got to hope that they're as diligent as Trump would be about the enemy. But what if we get another Joe Biden? What if we get another Obama? What if we get a Gavin Newsom or a Kamala Harris or even a Josh Shapiro? Let me give you a little nugget tonight, since this is a this and that. There are no such things as moderate Democrats. I look at the moderate Democrats like I do moderate Muslims. The moderate Democrats are going to slow cook you into socialism. The rabid Democrats are going to put you in socialism overnight. Moderate Dems want the same thing. They're just better at hiding it. Josh Shapiro is just as dangerous to this country as AOC. Bashir up in Kentucky, that the Dems are pushing as a moderate Dem, just as dangerous as AOC. They're just better at hiding it and hiding their intentions than the left loons are. There's no such thing as a moderate. You say, what about John Fetterman? John Fetterman's a conundrum. He says a lot of good things. I agree with a lot of what he says, but I don't trust John Fetterman past his screen. I love John Fetterman. I'm proud that he's standing up for his country, but he's still a Dem. He's still a Dem. And he would bring policies into the country that ultimately the balance of power would shift until the left would take over that party again. And would I vote for John Fetterman? I'd have to pray about it. But I would pray that the Republicans would have a strong enough candidate that I wouldn't have to. I'll just leave it at that. I would pray that the Republicans would have a strong enough candidate that I wouldn't have to. John Fetterman's acting more like a Republican than most Republicans. But we'll leave that alone for now. But the dynamics of all this, folks, I know it's a lot of cheerleading and a lot of glee, and yay tonight out there in the media on the right-wing side that we may have a peace deal brewing. I'm trying to give you some wisdom and some nuggets that there is no peace coming to the Middle East. There may be seasons of less violence than there are right now. There may be seasons where we may think we've got peace. There may be seasons where countries are not actively fighting each other. But I can tell you this, look, we're finding out tonight that Turkey may be behind a lot of this situation. I'll read you a couple of things that we found out tonight. We've got our own media in America rooting for Iran. We've got podcasters out there claiming the Sharia law is a good thing, like Tucker Carlson saying that tonight. I mean, you've got people that are basically, it's just unreal, the thinking of many people. And when you have dissent and you have betrayal within your own country, the enemy ain't got to do much. The enemy don't have to do much. than what they're already doing. All right. Now, that's my 2 cents. That's my this and that. And we're at 10 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and get into these videos tonight, and we'll give you a we will give you a time to talk here at the end tonight. And Elaine, I'll agree with you. Never believe a liar. It is a way of life within the side. This side of finding the Lord Jesus. They don't want to find the Lord Jesus. They want to find Muhammad. They want to hide and find those 72 virgins, and paradise is what they call it. I'm going to come over here to the stage because let me come over here, and I'm going to do it better. We don't have James on tonight. I wish James was here. He's on the Riviera tonight, and he's having a ball and a blast, and we're grateful that he is, but we sure do miss him. Tonight would have been a good night to have him because we could have sure used his insight about the Middle East. Here is Tucker Carlson. I'm going to let you listen to his own words about Sharia law. This is the man himself.
And you notice, like in ISIS or Al Qaeda, or like the Muslim extremists, they're all from like collapsed, pathetic societies dominated by colonial powers. They've been degraded, and that's why they're so angry. Right? So there's something about being degraded that turns you into a violent nutcase extremist. You're seeing a lot of violent nutcase extremists in our country. Not surprising, because the country's being degraded.
Wow. Wow. So basically what Tucker is saying is that the reason the Muslims want to cut your head off and the Muslims want to declare jihad on America is because we Western powers have degraded their lands. That's the argument of the Palestinians. That's the argument of Hamas. That's the argument of the Muslims. Way to go, Tucker. I'm sure your mom's proud of you tonight. I'm sure your mom's proud of you. I got more to say about him, but that is a lot. This is Wolf Blitzer today. This is Wolf Blitzer today telling the world that they now believe that Trump's telling the truth. The CNN people were saying that Trump was lying about talking to Iran with a peace deal, so they took the word of the Iranians over Trump. This is the crap news network at its best.
Situation room, we're now learning from a senior Iranian source that there has been an outreach between the U.S. and Iran. The source tells CNN that this was initiated by Washington. With us now, CNN military analyst, retired U.S. Air Force Colonel Cedric Leighton, and CNN global affairs analyst Kim Dozier. Kim, what do you make of this development?
The U.S. just blinked. I mean, we already saw it in the Syria.
The U.S. didn't blink. The U.S. didn't blink. They were claiming Trump was lying yesterday. Roll the tape. This is the media for you that's siding with our enemies, not the United States. Go ahead.
Series of changing tweets or truths from President Trump. You know, one day he's like, the war's about to end. The next day, we're going to obliterate your energy facilities. And then the next day, we think there are talks.
A senior Iranian official. In other words, the story there by California Mega Barbie is that CNN just had to go back on their claims that President Trump lied. The lady was trying to throw shade. This is the media at its worst. So an Iranian source is what CNN needed to verify the fact that President Trump was telling the truth. No wonder, and this happened last week, the Iranian regime gave CNN access to report about the war inside their country. The only network that they allowed into the country to report about the war was CNN. Go figure. Go figure. And when you have enemies like this, folks, we don't need the Iranians as our enemy. We don't need Islam as our enemy. We got our media as our enemy. This is the Muslims in their own words. And by the way, speaking of the intelligence situation, this is probably a good one to play next. This is, the Democrats are screaming that Trump's lying about the intelligence, that Iran was a threat. Well, they sure didn't believe this years back. Roll the tape.
Iran's nuclear program is galloping forward. It is enriching at higher levels, 20%, even 60%. In small cases, it's using more advanced centrifuges. We're now down, based on published reports, to a few months. If this continues, if they continue to enrich at the levels and the ways they're doing, it will get down eventually to a few weeks. So that is a concrete problem. We have an interest in putting that nuclear problem back in the box, because an Iran with a nuclear weapon or with the ability to produce fissile material on very short notice to get one is an Iran that's going to be an even worse actor.
Iran has rapidly accelerated its nuclear program and reduced cooperation with international inspectors. Their breakout period is down from about a year, which is...
Did you see the reporter nodding? That's the media. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's Joe Biden telling us so. That must be true. Trump says it, and they're questioning that and calling Trump a liar. Roll the tape.
What we knew it was during the deal to just a few weeks or less.
Iran, the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism, has directly or by hiring criminals mounted assassination attempts against dissidents and high-ranking current and former U.S. officials, including right here on American soil.
The president will not tolerate attacks on American troops.
That's Lloyd Johnson. Iran attacked American troops all the time. Biden didn't do a thing. By the way, he went missing for about 2 weeks without anybody knowing what he did. That's your former Department of Defense head. Aren't you glad we got Pete Hegseth in the House? If you are, put a thumbs up out there.
And neither will I.
Sure, Lloyd. Sure.
Our teammates were killed by radical militias backed by Iran and operating inside Syria and Iraq.
Yes, it is true. Iran is closer to a nuclear weapon than ever before. If they chose to get a nuclear weapon, could probably get one within weeks.
Now, that's Chris Murphy. Chris Murphy was on the weekend shows swearing up and down, Van Hollen was too, that Trump is lying to you, the American people, that we have been sold a bill of goods, that Iran was even a threat. There was no way that Iran had that nuclear material. We just went out on a bombing campaign, and we just was obliterating the Middle East because we just got up one morning and thought we'd go bomb a few folks. It sure didn't sound like that from 2021 to 2025, did it? And by the way, that 25 was just last year. That's Chris Murphy. That's the hypocrisy of the Dem Party. It's going to get us all killed, folks. It's going to get us all killed. By the way, this is Muslims. I'm going to let them speak to you out of their own language. This is what they want for this country. Roll the tape.
We don't say that Islam is here to live, to coexist with lots of different religions and all of us can just hold hands and be friends. This religion has been sent to dominate, to wipe out, to take out every other religion.
He just said the truth. He's telling the truth. Can't say he's lying. Let me play that back, folks. Maybe some Christians need to hear this tonight. Maybe some pastors need to hear this. Maybe some podcasters need to hear this. Maybe some Candace Owens and Tucker Carlsons and some Hodge twins and Carrie Prejean and some freaking prophets and newscasters out there that claim they're on the cutting edge of the information bubble. Perhaps they need to hear what this guy just said as to what the goal is of Islam in this country. He's saying this in Dearborn, Michigan.
We don't say that Islam is here to live, to coexist with lots of different religions and all of us can just hold hands and be friends. This religion has been sent to dominate, to wipe out, to take out every other religion, to have the people leave every religion and to accept Islam. And if that requires fighting to achieve it, then it requires fighting to achieve it. Because the greatest purpose for which jihad was legislated is to make the word of Allah the highest and the word of those who disbelieve the lowest, even if the disbelievers hate it. But we're not shy to say it, and we don't find that to be something that we should be shy to say.
Oh, they're not shy to say it. They're not shy to say it. I'm going to play that first little minute back, and I want you to listen carefully what he just said. I know some of you heard it, but maybe it needs to be heard again. Because maybe we Christians, maybe all of us need to be reminded of this. This is their goal. And it doesn't matter whether they're moderate or they're jihadi. You look at that guy right there, and the media would call this guy moderate.
We don't say that Islam is here to live, to coexist with lots of different religions and all.
They're not here to coexist. By the way, the illegals are not here to coexist either. The illegals are not here to assimilate. Islam is not here to assimilate. They don't care about your religion. They don't care about your laws. They don't care about our laws. They don't care about nothing. They're here to destroy the country and destroy anything that stands in the way of this ideology.
All of us can just hold hands and be friends. This religion had...
By the way, we can't be friends. I'm not disagreeing with what the guy says. He's telling the truth. At least he's honest about it. At least he's honest about it.
Sent to dominate, to wipe out, to take out every other religion, to have the people leave every religion and to accept Islam. And if that requires fighting to achieve it, then it requires fighting to achieve it. Because the greatest purpose for which jihad was legislated is to make the word of Allah the highest and the word of those who disbelieve the lowest, even if the disbelievers hate it. But we're not shy to say it, and we don't find that to be something that we should be shy to say.
Yep, they're not shy to say it. Here's another one, just in case you didn't believe him.
Reason why you have to fight them is because they are Jews and Christians. You should fight those empires around you, or those hukumat around you, which are Jew or Christian, until they give the jizya. That's fine. That we already know Islam allows. And then the howness of that is in the hadith. The three options that they're given: either you give the jizya, or you do this, or you do that. We're not apologetic about that point. That is truth.
It's amazing how the Muslims have no problem not apologizing. We have to apologize all the time if we say something about Islam. Islam don't apologize for saying something about the Jews and Christians, do they? No, they don't. Roll the tape. Keep rolling.
Your religion has to have an expansionist element. So then, therefore, there is no situation or conceivability of peace being made between Muslims and non-Muslims. Islam is a warrior religion in many ways, and it's unapologetically so. It's about expansion, it's about conquest and so.
About expansion and conquest, out of their own words. We must fight Christians and Jews simply because they are Christian and Jews. Islam is about expanding and conquering, and we do not apologize for it. If that's not enough, here's another one that just confirms what his two other fellow brethren said. If I can find it, it's right here. I just had it in front of me. Bear with me. Here it is right here. He went a little further. Roll the tape.
The one that sells drugs, good or bad? Just very quickly, good or bad? Bad. How about the murderer? How about the one who commits adultery, zina? What about the one who rapes a child? What about the one who drinks alcohol? What about the one who does the biggest of the kabair, good or bad? This person, one person that commits all of these sins, he commits all of these sins on a daily basis, but he prays, is better in the eyes of Allah than the one that doesn't commit any of these sins but doesn't pray. So you and your brother here, I'm a good guy. Habibi, go pack that up because it's not going to work on the day of judgment. Any person that misses one salah, one, not two, one salah, you miss one salah for no reason, you're worse than a murderer, you're worse than a rapist, you're worse than a terrorist, you're worse than a pedophile in the eyes of Allah.
In the eyes of Allah, that is their religion. There is their religion. In other words, he's saying you can rape a child, you can murder, you can rape, fornicate, anything you want to do, and make heaven your home. But if you miss a prayer, and you miss your Ramadan meeting, you miss your jihadi meeting, you're going to burn in the pit. That is the sick, distorted religion of Islam, folks, and you can't get away from that. By the way, this is the guy running for Texas, the Senate seat. Boy, howdy. I don't, as the video says here, I don't think we heard this one in Sunday school. Listen up closely.
Did they teach you in Sunday school that Jesus Christ himself was a radical feminist? The American flag is such a complicated symbol for most of us. God is non-binary.
You can't call yourself a Christian and reject the stranger seeking asylum at our southern border.
Our trans community needs abortion care too. Modern science obviously recognizes that there are many more than two biological sexes. In fact, there are 6. Prophetic voices like Jesus have helped me reckon with my own whiteness. Our southern border should be like our front porch. There should be a giant welcome mat out front. We are trying to fundamentally change the politics in this state and in this country. No need to sit and cry over, your whiteness or your masculinity.
Wow. Wasn't that first part again?
Feminist. The American flag teach you in Sunday school that Jesus Christ himself was a radical feminist.
No, James, they didn't. No, James, they didn't. By the way, this is the guy, for those of you who don't know, this is James Terrico. He defeated Jasmine Crockett in the Texas primary. He's going to face either Cornyn or Paxton in the general election come November. You Texans, y'all can sure pick them. Good Lord.
The American flag is such a complicated symbol for most of us. God is non-binary.
You can't call yourself a Christian and reject the stranger seeking asylum at our southern border.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. I've been asked this a lot. What would Jesus do about all these illegals? I'll tell you one thing he would do. He would enforce the law, because Jesus is not a lawbreaker. Number two, he would tell them, you're breaking the law. He would make them go back and come back in the right way. And I don't think that, people can argue the humanitarian thing all they want to. Jesus knows the truth about the motive of why they're coming over. Understand that tonight. That'll get me on Right Wing Watch. And I hope it does. Because it's a lie to say that Jesus would not enforce the southern border. That is blasphemy. But it's coming from a guy that is running for the Senate down in Texas. By the way, this is Chris Murphy, the one and only about illegals.
The negotiation didn't have a path to citizenship. It was entirely on their terms in order to get Ukraine funding, right?
Well, I mean, Chris, that's been a failed play for 20 years. So you are right that that has been the Democratic strategy for 30 years, maybe. And it has failed to deliver for the people we care about most, the undocumented Americans that are in this.
The people we care about the most. Roll that back to about 5 seconds. I want you to listen to this. Just your Democrat buddies in the Senate and in the House, the Republicans.
To deliver for the people we care about most, the undocumented Americans that are in this country.
Wow. At least he's honest. Honest Joes. There's honest Chris there. Honest James Terrico. At least they're telling you what they're believing, folks. They're not hiding it. That's for sure. Here's Hakeem Jeffries. And he says the part out loud, too, tonight.
What's the reason why we are in a DHS shutdown right now? Because Republicans have refused to agree to the type of bold, transformative, meaningful, and dramatic reforms we are demanding in order for the Department of Homeland Security funding bill to move forward. And I won't go through all of the demands, much of which we've talked about repeatedly in the public, but one of those demands is keep ICE out of sensitive locations.
Like voting booths. Now, I'm just a South Georgia boy. We're going to keep ICE out of the voting booths. Well, why would you even worry about ICE being in the voting booths, Hakeem, unless illegals are voting? Because that's what y'all are scared ICE is going to do, is yank all these illegals out and take them out of the country. So when you say sensitive places, he's going to tell you what he's talking about.
And we've defined that as schools, houses of worship, hospitals, and polling sites.
Ho! Ho! Did you hear that? Hospitals, churches. He didn't have no problem with Don Lemon going into a place of worship. By the way, folks, Muslims are doing that. You that go to church and have churches, physical churches, you need to be alert that the Muslims are breaking or busting into Christian church services and screaming Ali Akbar and doing their thing. That's happening more and more across America. Nothing's being done by local law enforcement. But I tell you what, you as a Christian, you go into a mosque and start preaching Jesus is Lord and see what happens. See what happens. You get your head cut off. Well, Hakeem is as good as telling you they're scared that they're going to show up at the voting booths because, folks, they don't want these illegals not to vote. Not to vote. I'm just a South Georgia boy, folks. It's just common sense to me. But they're saying it. This is out of their own mouth. I'm not even putting words in their mouth. Go ahead, Hakeem.
We want an explicit prohibition that ICE can go nowhere near any polling sites in the United States of America. It's one of our...
let me choke on something. I can't use the word I want to. Can I choke on that? Can I choke on that? That's hilarious. That's absolutely hilarious. That we don't want them going into a voting booth. Of course you don't. Because they'd probably knock about 90% of your voting block out if they did, Hakeem. If they did. I wouldn't want them in there either. All righty. A couple of other things here tonight, and I want to take your questions. I've not forgotten about you out there, I promise. By the way, and this is Hakeem again today. You remember the young lady in Chicago, Miss Gorman, that got murdered by this illegal? Well, somebody approached Hakeem today on the Capitol and asked him if they convict that guy of killing her, should he be deported? I want you to watch this reaction. The same Hakeem that you just listened to.
An illegal immigrant has been charged with murdering a college student in Chicago last week. Do House Democrats believe if he's convicted, he's someone who should be deported?
I'll look into the case.
That is a yes or no question. If the illegal immigrant is found to have killed that girl and he's convicted, do you support deporting him? That is a yes or no answer. Is it not? That's a yes or no answer. Roll the tape again.
An illegal immigrant has been charged with murdering a college student in Chicago last week. Do House Democrats believe if he's convicted, he's someone who should be deported?
I'll look into the case.
Let me tell you this, neighbor. I'm going to say this to J.B. Pritzker tonight, and Brandon Johnson, and Hakeem Jeffries, and the entire Democrat Party. The blood of that girl is on your hands. You know, I heard tonight that J.B. Pritzker went to Minnesota to the funeral of Renee Good. Do you realize that he has not visited this family once? He's not contacted the family once. Brandon Johnson's not connected to this family once. She has been interned at a funeral home for 3 days now, never visited yet, hadn't had any sense of condolence. You've got Chicago legislators claiming she was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. I read a story on Breitbart tonight where she startled the illegal immigrant, so that must be why he was forced to kill her. I mean, folks, you have to have the demented, darkened mind of a 1-year-old child. And let me remind you what Walt Whitman used to say, the great poet, that politicians and diapers need to be changed for the same reason. And I don't have to give you the picture and the crayon picture of that. I want to say that again. That's why politicians and diapers are changed for the same reason, because they're full of something in the diaper. And it's absolutely the truth. But there's been no outcry. There's been no sympathy to the victim at all. And J.B. Pritzker, you are nothing but a cold-blooded murderer. You are a murderer. You and Brandon Johnson both. This girl would not be dead if it was not for you. Are they ashamed about it tonight? No, they're not ashamed. No, they don't care. That question to Hakeem Jeffries was a simple question that my 7-year-old great little baseball player, Elias David, if I was to ask him that question, he would be able to tell me, yes or no, Papa. And he would answer yes. He should be deported. But the speaker, or the minority speaker of the House of Representatives, can't answer that question for you tonight. We'll have to look into the case. He knows the case. He knows the case. He knows the case. He knows the case. Here's Cory Booker tonight on the ICE agents. Another loser. Roll the tape.
Usual bluster. He has again made this grand statement. I'm not going to sign any bill that comes to me unless the SAVE Act comes to me first. The SAVE Act is a massive voter suppression bill that would make it very difficult for millions of Americans, especially women who have changed their name on their birth certificate no longer matches the name on their real ID or driver's license. It would cause chaos to voting and really shrink the voting rolls 5 or 10%.
Did you just hear this? Did you just hear this stuff? They're arguing over, by the way, showing an ID at the voting pools. You ladies out there that have to change your name, you know, and he's talking about finding your birth certificate. Can I just be honest with you? Can I just say something really ugly tonight for the first time on my show? If you don't have the common sense to go get a birth certificate and know how to get a birth certificate, you don't need to be voting. You understand that? That's what we got. That's why we have directions on Pop-Tarts. And that's why we have institutions of learning. And that's why people can't read and write. If you can't read and write and do those things, you don't need to be voting. You don't need to be making decisions of the leaders of the country that are going to make policy decisions for 350 million Americans. If you can't go find a birth certificate, if you don't know how to do the common thing of how to get a license, and you don't have the common sense to do it, then maybe you don't need to be in that voting booth. But Cory Booker believes this is going to disenfranchise women and disenfranchise people that can't do these things. Roll the tape again. This is out of the mouth of Mr. Cory Booker. Roll the tape.
Is a massive voter suppression bill.
A master voter suppression bill. That's all they have to say all the time. Whenever they're forced to make people show an ID at the polls, neighbor, it's always voter suppression, isn't it? It is not. For the record tonight, folks, it is the law. It is the law.
It will make it very difficult for millions of Americans, especially women who have changed their name on their birth certificate no longer matches the name on their real ID or driver's license. It would cause chaos to voting and really shrink the voting rolls 5 or 10%.
Now that I'll agree with. It would shrink the voter rolls 10% of the illegals. And the Bookers of this world, and the Newsoms of this world, and the Pritzkers, and the Johnsons, and the Murphys of this world, and Goldman up in New York, we just can't have them illegals not voting. Because God forbid if the illegals didn't vote, what would happen to the Democrat Party, wouldn't it?
I was talking to a retired, very moderate senator yesterday. We were both laughing. Democrats should just be quiet and let somebody like Lisa Murkowski, who did a big chart, big state of Alaska,
Lisa Murkowski's a Democrat anyway, Corey. Don't bring her into this.
Put up in her speech and just showed what the SAVE Act would do to voters, making them have to hop on planes, fly across.
So what? You can't get there in time to vote? You should vote.
Across her state, which is pretty vast, just to be able to present identification at the right place. We do not need voter suppression in the United States of America, and we do not need another scheme from Donald Trump, who's still litigating his 2020 loss, another scheme by him that would make it more difficult for American citizens to vote at the...
Doesn't that just give you the warm fuzzies listening to him talk? It's hard to believe that he was on that Democratic podium, almost president, back in 2020 and 24. All I got to say is this. A couple of things about the 2020 thing. I hope they get to the bottom of it. I hope all this blows up in their face. I do. And I'm going to say this to the Republican Party tonight. And it's getting late and I'm running out of time, so I'm going to take your questions here in a minute. Listen, you better stand firm on this issue about the SAVE Act. You need to stand firm on the DHS bill. If the ICE people don't get financed, the DHS don't get financed, we don't have a bill. Make the Dems own this. Make the Dems own the pain that they're causing the American public. Make the Dems own it. Make the Dems go out and defend what he just did. Make Chris Murphy go out there and say the illegals are the only people we care about. Make them defend this. And I think if you get down to it, this is an 80-20 issue. Even Crap News Network did a poll, folks. 80% of the American public, that includes independents and many Dems that call themselves moderate. It's not just the far right that believe in it, but if 80% of the people agree that we need to have an ID to vote, that's not some conspiracy talk from Donald Trump. Let these people keep doing this. Let these people keep doing this. But anyway, not a good look, Corey. A couple of quick videos, and I'm going to play the rest Thursday night. I wanted to. This is Zoman bin Dami on Islam. This is the video I wanted to play in. One more. Listen to this.
I think of the freedom from suffering that Buddhism teaches us is only possible if we remove the three poisons of desire, hatred, and ignorance from our daily lives. We need not accept suffering as unchangeable. We need not treat hatred as the natural state. We have the power to set ourselves free. And I consider my own faith, Islam, a religion built upon a narrative of migration. The story of the Hijrah reminds us that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was a stranger too, who fled Mecca and was welcomed in Medina. Surah An-Nahl 1642 tells us, as for those who immigrated in the cause of Allah after being persecuted, we will surely bless them with a good home in this world. Or as the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, Islam began as something strange and will go back to being strange. So glad tidings to the strangers. If faith offers us the moral compass to stand alongside the stranger, government can provide the resources. Let us create a new expectation of City Hall, where power is wielded to love, to embrace, and to protect. We will stand with the stranger today.
Yeah, I was going to post something from Laura Loomer. I had the wrong tweet. Laura Loomer reminded him that, Muhammad provided homes all right to the stranger. No, Islam slaughtered the stranger, Muammar. Islam slaughtered their enemies. There was no homes being provided to the stranger under Islam. I told you folks, this kid was more dangerous. We told you this back in the fall. We warned people. We warned the New Yorkers. I've got dear friends, and they're conservative friends. They told me they just couldn't vote for Cuomo, so they didn't vote. They sat at home. They didn't vote for Eric Adams. They didn't vote for Silwa. We're going to have our dear friend Gabrielle Maria from New York coming on after Easter break, and she lives up there, and she actually is close to the Silwa campaign. And I'm not saying Silwa was the answer for New York, but I guarantee you he wouldn't have been on the platform saying this kind of stuff. And again, he's pushing a jihadi theology. They're basically replacing 9/11 memories with Muslim books and Muslim artifacts on the same places where we lost 2,700 people 25 years ago. This is the 25th anniversary of 9/11 this year, by the way. 25 years. 25 years ago this year. It's hard to believe that. We're 250 years old, and 25 years ago, those planes slammed into the Trade Center Tower that shadow this place that he was standing today saying this nonsense. How the mighty have fallen, huh? How the mighty have fallen. Here's Alan Dershowitz. I got a lot more to say about that. We'll share it Thursday night because we're running out of time tonight. This is Alan Dershowitz on the Holocaust. I thought this was very interesting. Very powerful. Listen to him.
This is the most important war since 1939, since Nazi Germany. If Iran is allowed to develop nuclear bombs, he will do what Hitler did, and there will be millions and millions of deaths. Had President Trump been in charge in 1935, 1936, I think the Holocaust would have been prevented. I think he would have gone in after Nazi Germany. He would have destroyed it the way he is destroying Nazi Iran, and the Holocaust would have been prevented. We're preventing another Holocaust, a nuclear Holocaust, that Iran would clearly inflict not only on Israel, but on Europe. We now know that his rockets can reach Europe, and ultimately on the United States. So this is the most important war we have fought since the Second World War, and every decent person ought to join it. And the Democrats ought to join it in the United States, but they're not, because they're putting partisanship before national security.
Well, it's not just the Democrats. I'm with them on that, but it's the media too. The media, literally, folks, they're rooting for Iran. They're literally rooting for Iran. This is John Brennan tonight on CNN. I want you to listen to what he has to say about this. This is
Iran. Like, they are an authoritarian regime who's known to lie, but like, I'm confused. What is going on? Help me. Calm me down.
Well, I tend to believe Iran more than I do Donald Trump, because he could not acknowledge the truth, even when it is he's slapped in the face with it repeatedly.
Boy, I hope he goes to jail. That's former National Security Advisor, by the way, to this country, former CIA chief. And I trust Iran
like,
more than Trump.
They are an authoritarian regime who's known to lie, but like, I'm confused. What is going on? Help me. Calm me down.
Well, I tend to believe Iran more than I do Donald Trump, because he could not acknowledge the truth, even when it is.
So, when you have people in the media, and you have former CIA agents talking like this, and that's the difference in World War II and this war. We didn't have social media then. We didn't have a rabid anti-America press, even though there were elements of that somewhat in the Second World War. But we sure didn't have the social media stuff and this kind of crap like MS Now and CNN and these other anti-Trump hating outlets like we do tonight. And it's what makes this war even more dangerous. It makes what is going on over there more dangerous, because there is no clarity of who's on the right side of things. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more Thursday night. I don't have time to get into it tonight, but Alexis Wilkins, this is Kash Patel's girlfriend, and I will talk about this more, but there's a foreign-linked influence network that has been running coordinated operations against the Trump administration for 22 months. She says, I know it's real, because they ran one against me. I was targeted in something I knew was far from organic. This level of media is isolating. And let me just go ahead. I thought we had made the whole picture there. Let me see if I can find the whole image for you. That was sort of the thread there. And bear with me 1 second here. And there it is right there. Let me just read this more. Give me 1 minute. We'll put this whole thing up, because this is very important tonight. We're going to talk about this more Thursday night, so be with me Thursday night. We're going to have hopefully some folks on that can talk about this more. I'll read this more. She said it was very isolated. It's unwanted and unwarranted. There was nobody to help, nobody to jump in and say this is a false OP and help me. Well, I don't believe in problems without solutions. So I've spent the last few months learning to build programs to utilize publicly available information to prove that this is way bigger than me. This is about creating chaos in the Republican Party. It's about the organized effort to lose Republicans the midterms and subvert President Trump's agenda. And I have the data for you to see, and she's going to supply it. Basically, bottom line is people like Tucker, Candance, Flynn, and who is the other name that, let's see, Flynn, Owens, Joe Kent, all of these situations. We're going to talk about Joe Kent. Folks, do you realize that Joe Kent has announced that he's going to be testifying for the Tyler Robinson defense team in defense of Tyler Robinson killing Charlie Kirk? If they put him on the witness list by the defense, Joe Kent, same Joe Kent that we talked about last night. It's nothing but treasonous traitorism. Well, he ain't the only traitor out there, and it has all been planned, and we're going to talk about this more Thursday night, and so forth. And I will leave it at that, because I could stay on this for all night. And if I start getting into this, then will get us way late, and I need to get your questions and get on out of here. We're going right at an hour. One quick thing I do want to show you, and we've not talked about this a lot. We just talked about it a little bit, but I want to say our condolences to the families of these two kids right here, Pilot Antoine Forrest and First Officer Mackenzie Gunther. These are the two young men that lost their lives Sunday night in that horrific LaGuardia crash. They made their ultimate sacrifice. It was their actions. They got killed, but they saved the lives of several hundred passengers on that Air Canada flight. Every single passenger on board. There were some injuries, but nobody died as far as the passengers. They lost their life. Their Air Canada flight collided with a fire truck, but because of their incredible bravery, everyone else walked away. Survivor Becca Lickery said it best. She says she's forever indebted to them. God bless these two heroes and their families. This is what true bravery looks like. We salute these two kids. They were young men, and they're heroes. They're heroes, something that sadly many in this country don't understand. But what's basically happening right now, folks, I'm going to come back over to my screen. You've got a concentrated effort that Israel is being made the demon and being made the dividing line of everything that is going wrong in this country. Israel's getting blamed for it. It's not by accident. It's not by accident. And we're going to address that head on Thursday night in a more direct way. All right. Now, y'all been a great audience, and I've been sort of talking, and it's good to see everybody. If you've got a question or a comment, please put it in the house, and we will start taking your questions. Dennis, Iran is Persia, and We talked about this, Dennis, just last night, buddy. We talked about this Sunday night. I'd go back and listen to our Sunday night broadcast. We taught on this, and yes, Iran is not going nowhere, and I believe that she is going to be one of the nations that will join the Antichrist at Armageddon. This is not Armageddon, what you're seeing happening. But to answer your question tonight without getting deep biblically in it, and be with us tomorrow night, we may address it a little bit more tomorrow night. But we had a whole teaching on it Sunday, and Sunday night this week we're going to do it again, Lord willing. But yes, they're Persian. They are Persian, and they're called Elam also in the Bible, E-L-A-M. They have been an ardent enemy of Israel going way back to the Persian Empire. They have, and you got to realize all those images, and we, again, I don't have time to get into it tonight, but the Assyrian Empire, the Babylonian Empire, the Persian Empire, when you look at a map and you see those three empires, and really even the Egyptian Empire to a degree, but definitely Assyria, Persia, and Babylon. If you look at the territories of those three empires of the past that persecuted or oppressed Israel in her history, the Assyrians basically took the northern kingdoms captive, the Babylonians took Judah, the southern kingdoms captive. The overlay of the maps, they're almost identical. They're the same nations that belonged to the Assyrian Empire were conquered by Babylon. And the same nations that the Babylonians controlled, many of the Persian Empire controlled. And Greece and Rome just followed suit, and they controlled it all. I mean, Rome was probably the one that expanded that territory more than any other empire. And they were the last world superpower really up to the time of Christ, other than now, what we've got now. But the thing about Rome is that there was no foreign power that destroyed Rome. They destroyed themselves. Rome rotted from within. But in the case of these other empires, the empire that followed it, on that image of Daniel 2, destroyed the empire before it. So, yes, they will be, I believe they will be with the Antichrist. The Bible tells us that. We're going to talk about that Sunday night, my friend. Be with us, okay? Don't have time to get into all that deep tonight. But yes, that is correct. That is correct. Carol Smith, I know someone has no idea what Islam stands for. Wonder how many people are like that. A lot of them, Carol. A lot of them. A lot of them. Rosemary, you know, Rosemary, thank you for saying this. To get a real ID, a woman needs to show her marriage license, changing her last name to a married name. That she does. That she does. You can't get a driver's license without getting your marriage license, without getting your birth certificate in some cases. So why is it so hard then, if that's the case, to get a real ID, that you don't have to have an ID to vote? Common sense, isn't it? Well said. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And got some new names in the house. Good to see you guys tonight. And good to see Ronnie Baker. Good to see you. Trump all day, every day, buddy. I'm with you, man. Israel and America. Shirley McIntyre. She says all preachers should start teaching people about what Muslims and their faith is about. I wish they would teach it in schools also. Shirley, as much as I agree with you about that, part of the reason why we got this embrace of this stuff is because preachers have preached just the opposite. We've got a mixture of religions in this country. You got preachers getting behind pulpits telling everybody that Islam's okay. Look, the one and only Rick Warren, who was the darling of the evangelical community back in the early 2000s, he started something called Chrislam. Still going on. Chrislim. It was a mixture. He believed that what the church needed to do was bring all these religions under one umbrella, Catholicism, Islam, and Christianity, and let's all just kumbaya and get along. And he never saw anything evil with Islam. And it got, and that mindset started seeping into the church about 20 years ago. And you know what's so horrific about that? It happened after 9/11. Because people woke up to the danger of Islam, and it was the church that basically tried to calm that danger down and say, hey, there's no danger, don't worry about it, guys. This was just an isolated event where our threat's not Islam. Our threats, those poor, hardcore evangelicals, those hardcore hellfire brimstone preachers like McDonald out there and others that preach the truth, that's your enemy, not Islam. We, the church, don't need that hardcore preaching. We don't need that hardcore talk to our people. Let's just all get along. And to teach it in schools today, the teacher that taught that in school would be fired, surely. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. But the truth will never be taught. Look, there has been some evidence that people are taking the 9/11 story, what happened on 9/11, out of the textbook. Because, you know, the textbooks are updated every year in schools. There's some historical social study books that don't even mention 9/11 anymore. So this generation of kids, they don't even know what happened. You say what happened on 9/11, they just stare a hole at you. Jesse's interviewer was down at spring break in Fort Lauderdale over the weekend. He asked some of those spring breakers, who was the Ayatollah? They didn't have an idea who he was. Where's Iran? I don't even know what Iran is. What is going on? What is the state of Iran? What is Iran? They don't even know it's a country. So it is in the pulpit, Shirley. It starts in the pulpit. Preachers that preach such are labeled, again, Islamophobic, and they get slaughtered by the media, and they get slaughtered by other Christians and other pastors that are weak-kneed and derelict and hirelings in their duties. There's a way to preach it in love. We don't hate Muslims. I want to make it clear tonight. We do not hate Muslims. This is not about hate. But President Trump said it the other day. He sat down with Anderson Cooper this week, and he said the truth. Islam hates us. Islam hates us. And Muslims, if you're listening to me tonight, you need to hear that strongly. We Christians don't hate you. And the Jews don't hate you either. You hate us. I don't see Jewish people blowing up mosques. I don't see Americans blowing up buses and elementary schools that got Muslims in them, even though the media lies to you every day and claims that. I don't see, and let me just clarify this again. We got about 5 minutes. Listen to me. All this talk about this genocide that happened after 10/7, October the 7th, was nothing but bold-faced lies. Lies. Christians believed them. Christians shared them. Christians added to it and added to the lies. Prophets did it. Hosts did it. Podcasters did it. TV hosts did it. Churches did it. And that's why the world believes that Israel is basically a genocidal, maniacal country. So surely I'll agree with you that the preachers need to preach it, but they need to preach it right. Because they've been preaching about Muslims. They're just telling everybody that jihadism is okay. That they're not the enemy. Israel's the enemy. Which is nothing but a bold-faced demonic lie. You ain't got to answer. You don't have to ask us where we stand on this issue. I'll tell you again tonight, neighbor, as I leave you. This is not the dojo to come and bringing that kind of crap in. Because we don't put up with it here. And we never will put up with it. We don't worship Israel. It's not about Israel even. It's not even about the state. I know exactly biblically what's coming to Israel, and it's not good. It's not. What's about to take place in that nation, my heart weeps. What's about to happen over time. We don't know when it's going to start. We don't know when it will take place, but I know the future. But at the end of the day, when the smoke clears, there's no other nation like that little tiny nation that has the promise that all of Israel shall be saved. So that lets me know that when the smoke clears, she'll be there. Prophetically and spiritually and literally. There ain't no promise given to America like that. There ain't no promise given to any other nation on this earth like that. There are a few empires that God has promised restoration in the last days, but the reason they're going to be restored is because they are not going to participate in the destruction of Israel along with the Antichrist. And they will repent and come to Christ and recognize Him as their Savior, just like the Jewish people will. There will be many Muslims that will give their heart to the Lord at the end of the Great Tribulation, folks, as they go into that kingdom age. You can read that in Isaiah 19 and 27, that Egypt, Assyria, and Israel will be a blessing in the land. They're not a blessing in the land tonight. Trying to kill each other. Trying to kill each other. There ain't any peace coming to the Middle East until Jesus Christ comes back. But the threat that we face tonight in this nation is seriously real. And Israel's not our enemy. Even though the media and many preachers and other people that are just full of the devil are trying to tell you. And I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that tonight. I'll leave it at that. Mary, you're right. Islam teaches that Jesus was a good prophet, but he was not on the cross because Allah wouldn't allow such a good man to suffer. And that is a direct slap and a blasphemous response to the gospel of Jesus Christ, and that is nothing but a lie. And that's exactly what Islam teaches. They do not equate him as the Son of God. And they do not believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Their Allah God is a false desert God that Muhammad concocted up in his mind, concocted in his deluded, drug-induced, meth-induced state. And I say that with all due respect. There's a lot of religions in that same boat tonight. There's a lot of religions in that same boat tonight. All righty. Good deal. Good deal. Good deal. All right. Looks like our questions are done. So nobody's got any more questions. So I'm going to let you go tonight. Did you enjoy the show? If you did, put some fire in that house. Give us a thumbs up. I will see you back here in the morning early in the Bible study. Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, is Faith Day, midweek fellowship. And Thursday night, we're going to pick this up. We got some things we're going to talk about Joe Kent. We got some things I want to talk to you about Joe Kent and him basically testifying for the defense of Tyler Robinson. It's disgusting. We're going to talk about that. And by the way, before I leave you tonight, one other quick thing. James Gosnell. You say, who is that? He is the butcher that ran that murderous abortion clinic in Kansas. And they sent him to prison. And there's a movie out about him, and it's called Gosnell. I encourage you to watch it. I think you can find it in one of the streaming services. One of the most brutal abortionists this country has probably seen in 50 years. The number of babies that the blood that's on his hands, it's just hard to put into words. He died tonight in prison. He died in prison tonight. I pray that somewhere or another, in the darkness of that cell, that he found Jesus before he died. Because I will tell you this, if he did not, he's experiencing tonight what an abortion's like. I've had too many people tell me that whatever you do on this earth, if you kill babies on this earth and you pedophile kids and you sexually abuse kids and you die without Christ, the same thing you did to others on this earth is going to be done to you in the pit below. I pray he found Jesus. There's no indication he did, but it was reported tonight that he died in his cell, his jail cell. We've got that story on our Telegram room. Let that be a warning to the murderers of babies. Let that be a warning that the name of the wicked shall rot. And the name of baby killers will rot in eternity. I pray he found Jesus. That's all I got to say. You say, do you have sympathy? I have sympathy for his soul. I don't want to see anybody die without Christ, folks, including James Gosnell Jr. As I said, I pray he found the Lord. But I'm going to tell you, the things that man did was the most murderous, barbaric acts of abortion and killing babies that I have ever seen in my lifetime. And the story will make you sick. They had to probably, the documentary, it wasn't a documentary, it was a movie about it. They probably had to lessen the blow because people couldn't have stomached what actually went on in those abortion clinics that he ran in the greater Kansas area, in Wichita. He's not doing it no more. And we need to fight for life in this country. God bless you. God bless your families. God bless this great nation of America. Hope you've enjoyed a Tuesday night, this and that. Thank you for the questions and the comments. I will see you back here in the morning on the Bible study on the Faith side. Tomorrow night, midweek fellowship, Revelation, the hinder of lawlessness. We're going to actually get to that tomorrow night. And we'll talk about Israel and the church again Sunday night. We'll deal, Dennis, with your question about Persia and the Antichrist and what's coming. That's what we deal with on Sundays. And we'll start revival Monday night. And so we hope that you'll be with us. It's going to be a great week of faith. Join us in Dalton, Ohio, Friday night at 7:30. Join us tomorrow for details about that. Still time to come. We love to have you. Friday and all day Saturday. Times of fellowship, worship, food, fun, and just a lot of hugging and loving on each other, encouraging each other in the faith. Come and stay a while with us. Don't come and leave. Just come and stay with us all day. It's going to be a great day of stuff. You're going to be blessed by the Word of God, but you're going to be blessed with the fellowship and friendship of everybody. And I promise we'll keep you awake. It won't be boring, okay? God bless you out there. If you enjoyed the show tonight, put some fire in that house. And we're grateful for you. And I will see you back here tomorrow on another McFiles event. God bless you out there. Have a good night, everybody. Be blessed.